They say love and compassion are luxuries, things we seek when everything else is secure. But what if they are not luxuries at all? What if they are the very air humanity breathes, the invisible current that keeps the soul from collapsing in on itself? Imagine a world stripped of tenderness, a city humming with machinery, but no laughter, eyes that meet but never soften, words that fill the air, but none that comfort. In such a place, progress becomes a desert, shimmering but lifeless. We've learned to measure everything: speed, profit, strength, but we have forgotten how to measure warmth. We speak of success as if it were salvation. Yet, the greatest failure of our time may be our inability to feel deeply for one another. And yet, beneath the noise, there is still a pulse, fragile but alive. You can hear it in the quiet act of kindness between strangers, in the silent forgiveness between lovers, in the trembling voice that says, "I understand." Because love and compassion are not signs of weakness. They are the proof that we still remember what it means to be human. But when did we start treating them as optional? In the modern world, compassion has become a performance, a virtue worn like a badge when convenient, then tucked away when it slows us down. We post empathy online but ignore the weary eyes beside us. We send heart emojis while closing our hearts in real life. We are surrounded by more people than ever, yet loneliness has become an epidemic. We scroll endlessly through curated happiness while quietly starving for genuine connection. Somewhere along the way, we began mistaking attention for affection and efficiency for care. We call it progress, automation, optimization, artificial intelligence. But the more we perfect our systems, the less we understand our souls. Our world rewards those who move fast, speak loud, and think ahead. Compassion, meanwhile, requires something opposite: slowing down, listening, feeling the weight of another's story. And that, in the age of acceleration, feels almost rebellious. You can see the paradox everywhere. A doctor too rushed to look into a patient's eyes. A parent answering emails while their child whispers for attention. A society building ever higher walls, calling it safety, while forgetting that empathy was once the bridge that made civilization possible. We teach children to succeed, but not to care. We train them to compete, but not to connect. And so they grow up believing that kindness is a liability in a world of sharp edges, that to be gentle is to be left behind. Yet deep down, something resists. When a stranger helps an old man cross the street, something stirs inside us. When we see a nurse hold a dying hand, a mother share her last meal, or a friend simply listen without fixing, our hearts remember. For a brief moment, we recognize that compassion isn't an extra feature of life. It is life. And still, we forget. We chase after material abundance, only to find emotional poverty waiting at the end. We build smarter machines, but colder hearts. We conquer the external world, yet remain lost within. This is the modern paradox. We crave love more than ever, yet fear the vulnerability that allows it to exist. We design comfort into every device, yet discomfort ourselves with emptiness. We seek meaning in achievements, while the meaning we long for quietly sits in the small, ordinary acts of care we've neglected. Perhaps we've confused survival with living. Perhaps our true evolution isn't technological, It's emotional. Because without compassion, our intelligence becomes dangerous. Without love, our progress becomes hollow. And if love and compassion are truly essential, then the question is not whether humanity can thrive without them, but whether we can even call it humanity at all. But what if compassion isn't something we must find, but something we've merely forgotten how to see? To understand compassion, we must first understand separation. The illusion that we are isolated beings, moving through life as self-contained entities. Modern life feeds this illusion. We are told to look out for number one, to build our own path, to take care of ourselves first. But beneath these slogans of independence lies a quiet tragedy, the forgetting that we were never meant to walk alone. From the moment we are born, our survival depends on connection. The heartbeat that comforts an infant, the gentle word that soothes a frightened child. These are not extras. They are foundations. Human beings do not grow in isolation. We unfold in the warmth of others. And yet, somewhere along the way, we began mistaking individuality for disconnection. We built walls around our hearts, believing they would protect us. We thought detachment was strength, when in truth, it is the slow erosion of the soul. Because compassion is not weakness, it is courage. It is the strength to remain open in a world that rewards hardness. The Dalai Lama once said, "Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries." Without them, humanity cannot survive. It is not poetic exaggeration. It is an observation of truth as ancient as the human story itself. Compassion is what allows civilization to endure. It is the invisible glue that holds families, communities, and nations together. It softens conflict, heals wounds, and bridges the unbridgeable. But compassion is not always gentle. It can be fierce. The mother defending her child, the activist standing against injustice, the friend who tells the truth, even when it hurts. Compassion is not sentimentality. It is clarity of the heart, the ability to see another's pain and recognize it as your own. When we feel compassion, something profound happens. The boundary between you and me dissolves. The world stops being a battlefield of separate egos and becomes a shared space of human experience. Suffering ceases to be theirs and becomes ours. And in that moment, love ceases to be a transaction and becomes a recognition. Science, too, has begun to confirm what sages have known for centuries. Studies show that acts of kindness trigger the same regions of the brain associated with pleasure and reward. Compassion lowers stress, strengthens the immune system, and lengthens life expectancy. Even the body understands that love is survival. But beyond biology and psychology, compassion is a form of wisdom, a way of seeing clearly. When you truly understand someone's pain, you no longer need to judge them. When you see that anger is fear, that cruelty is ignorance, that indifference is exhaustion, the heart opens, not because it condones, but because it understands. This understanding changes everything. The colleague who snaps at you is no longer the enemy. They are someone drowning quietly in their own storm. The stranger who cuts you off in traffic becomes a fellow traveler, lost in the same confusion. The person you once hated becomes a mirror, showing you where you still have not healed. Compassion doesn't mean agreeing with everyone, nor letting others harm you. It means recognizing that beneath every action, wise or foolish, kind, or cruel, there is a longing to be safe, to be seen, to be loved. Every human being carries that longing, including you. And perhaps that's where it begins, self-compassion. Because how can we offer to others what we deny ourselves? We spend years punishing our own mistakes, expecting perfection, suppressing grief. We are harsh with ourselves in ways we would never be with a friend. But self-compassion is not indulgence, it is honesty. It is the quiet acknowledgement that being human means being imperfect. And that imperfection is not failure, but the soil of growth. When we are gentle with ourselves, we become gentler with others. When we forgive our own flaws, we stop demanding perfection from the world. And when we allow our hearts to soften, we find that the strength we were searching for was never control. It was understanding. In this sense, compassion is not something to be practiced occasionally, like an act of charity. It is a way of being, a mode of perception, a constant remembering that every life, even the one that offends us, is bound by the same fragile thread of existence. In the end, compassion may be the highest form of intelligence because it sees beyond appearances. It recognizes the interconnectedness of all things. It understands that my joy is incomplete if you are suffering, that my peace is tied to yours. When humanity forgets compassion, it begins to decay, not through violence, but through indifference. It's not the loud hate that destroys civilizations, but the quiet absence of care. And when love disappears, everything, art, science, progress, becomes hollow. But when compassion returns, even a single act can ripple through the fabric of the world. A word of kindness can interrupt generations of pain. A moment of forgiveness can restore a lifetime of distance. One open heart can become a bridge for countless others to cross. Because to love is not to escape the world, it is to transform it. And perhaps the question we should ask is not, what can I gain from compassion? But what becomes possible when I remember that I am not alone? There was once a man who lived in a city of endless noise. Every morning he woke to the hum of traffic, the buzz of notifications, the clatter of people chasing something unseen. He was successful, or so they said. His calendar was full. His apartment gleamed. His name meant something in the world. Yet inside, he felt a silence he could not name. One winter morning, on his way to work, he passed an old woman sitting by the roadside. Her clothes were worn, her eyes clouded. She held a paper cup with trembling hands. People walked past her as though she were invisible. The man did the same. He told himself he was late, that he'd help another day, that it wasn't his responsibility. That night he couldn't sleep. The image of her face lingered, not because of pity, but because he had seen something familiar in her expression, a kind of quiet resignation, as if he had given up on being seen. Days passed. He saw her again, same corner, same silence. But this time, when their eyes met, she smiled faintly. It was not a smile of asking, but of understanding. He felt a strange warmth, a small crack in the wall he had built around his life. Without thinking, he bought 2 cups of coffee and sat beside her. For a while, they said nothing. The city moved around them. Horns, footsteps, the rhythm of indifference. Then she spoke softly. People think I sit here because I need money. But really, I just need someone to notice that I'm still here. He didn't know how to respond. He wanted to say something wise, something comforting. Instead, he handed her the coffee. She took it with both hands, as if holding something sacred. In that simple moment, the noise of the city seemed to fade. He noticed the sound of wind brushing against buildings, the slow drip of melting snow from a nearby roof, the faint hum of his own breath. Time expanded. It was as if the world had been waiting for him to stop, to simply be there. After that day, he began to change in small ways. He started listening more at work. He looked up from his phone while standing in line. He noticed the tired cashier, the nervous intern, the elderly neighbor who always smiled but never spoke. Compassion, he discovered, wasn't about grand gestures. It was about presence, about seeing what is often unseen. One evening, he returned to that corner, but the woman was gone. A passerby said she had been taken to a shelter the week before. He never saw her again. Yet in some strange way, she remained with him, in the way he spoke, in the way he paused before judging, in the way he allowed silence to exist between words. Months later, on another cold morning, he saw a young man walking past a beggar without looking. Instinctively, he stopped, took off his scarf and handed it to the beggar. The young man paused, surprised. Their eyes met. And in that fleeting exchange, something passed between them. Recognition. The same warmth the old woman once gave him now flowed through him to another. He realized in that instant that compassion is not a thing one gives or receives. It moves like a current, from heart to heart, life to life, moment to moment. It transforms not through intention, but through presence. As he walked away, he glanced up at the skyline. The same city, still loud, still restless. But within the noise, he could now hear something else, a rhythm beneath it all, the pulse of humanity, fragile yet unbroken. And he understood, perhaps for the first time, that love is not the opposite of chaos. It is the stillness within it. Sometimes one quiet act can restore the whole world. And maybe that's what the old woman had been teaching him all along. There comes a moment, often quiet, often unseen, when a person realizes that love and compassion were never external virtues to achieve, but the most natural state of being. It is not something we learn, it is something we remember. That man, years later, no longer chased the same things. His achievements still came, but they no longer defined him. He found peace not in applause, but in connection. The soft, wordless moments when life seemed to breathe through him instead of around him. He once thought compassion was a gift given to others. Now he understood. Compassion is how life recognizes itself. When he smiled at a stranger, when he forgave an old friend, when he listened without fixing, it wasn't charity. It was truth. Because beneath all our differences, class, belief, ambition, fear, there is a single heartbeat echoing through every soul that's ever lived. Compassion is the sound of that heartbeat being remembered. The paradox of love is that the more we give it away, the more we realize it was never ours to begin with. It does not diminish. It multiplies. It passes through us like light through glass, not staying, but illuminating. And perhaps this is what the Dalai Lama meant, that love and compassion are not luxuries because without them, humanity would stop evolving. Our technology might advance, our cities might grow, but our spirit would fade into emptiness. When the man walked the same streets again, he began to see the world differently. The beggar, the executive, the bus driver, the child. They were not separate stories, but threads of one vast tapestry, each one fragile, yet essential. He noticed how often people looked away, afraid to feel too much, and he realized he had once done the same. But compassion, he found, is not about fixing suffering, it's about witnessing it. To look without turning away, to let another's pain touch you, not to drown in it, but to remind you that you too are alive. And in that awareness, something miraculous happens. The barriers begin to fall. The endless striving softens. The world, even in its brokenness, becomes bearable, even beautiful. Because love does not promise to remove pain. It promises to make pain meaningful. Maybe this is why the greatest teachers from every age and faith return to the same truth, that compassion is not an act of saints, but the natural language of the soul. And when spoken, it changes everything, not by force, but by resonance. In a world obsessed with perfection, love remains imperfect. It stumbles, it doubts, it aches. But perhaps that is why it endures, because it is human. And if humanity is to survive not just in body, but in spirit, it won't be because of how much we built or conquered, but how deeply we cared. Because to love, truly, to feel, to see, to hold another's pain without flinching, is to stand in the center of existence and whisper, "We are still here." And maybe that whisper is enough to keep the world alive. In the end, love and compassion are not philosophies to discuss. They are practices of presence. They are the moments when you choose to listen instead of speak, to understand instead of judge, to stay when walking away would be easier. Compassion asks for no perfection. It only asks for awareness, for the courage to see yourself in others, and others in yourself. For the humility to recognize that no act of care is ever wasted. Not a smile, not a kind word, not a silent prayer. So perhaps the next time you feel disconnected, look around. Really look. See the tired eyes of the cashier, the stranger carrying invisible burdens, the friend who hides their sadness behind laughter. See them, not as extras in your story, but as the story itself, because the heart of the world beats through all of us. When we soften, the world softens. When we forgive, the world heals a little. When we love, the world remembers itself. This is the quiet revolution. Not loud, not heroic, but steady and unstoppable. One act of compassion at a time, the human spirit renews itself. So pause. Breathe. Forgive. Speak gently. Notice. That's how it begins. The restoration of what we've forgotten. As the Dalai Lama said, love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. And maybe survival isn't just about living longer, but living truer. Because the greatest act of love you can offer the world is to never forget that you belong to it. Compassion is the heartbeat of humanity, silent, steady, and the only thing that keeps us alive.